When it's time to go online and load your design file into the device, there are several things you need to check to ensure connectivity to the device. The first thing is under Tools, Application Preferences, on the HiQNet tab. In this window, we see all of the network interface cards on my computer. I have to make sure to turn on the network interface card that I'm using. In this case, I'm connected through my Wi-Fi connection, not through the wired connection. So I select it, hit OK. Now I can see the local network. If I go to the network window, I can look and find there's my Blue 160. The next thing I have to do, in the network window, right here is my design device. Up here is my network device. The design device is the virtual device, the programming that I've created. The network device is the actual physical DSP device. I have to associate the two of them in London Architect so London knows where to send the programming. To do that, I make the names match. The simplest way to do that is to go to my design device, go to Properties, and change the name until it matches the network device. In some cases, though, we may have set up the names in advance in the design devices to match the rooms we're in, to match the part of the building we're in, to match the rec room. And we might want to maintain this name. If that's the case, then we need to change the name of the network device. We do that by selecting the device, then clicking on the device settings icon and changing the name to match. Click yes. It's going to rename that device. It reappears in our network window. Now in this case, one of them has a space between the word north and the number 1. The names have to match exactly. Capitalization has to be exactly the same between the two. If I insert that space, now they match. I'll get the pop-up dialog. This dialog is telling me that the HiQNet node address on my design device doesn't match the hardware. The HiQNet node address is the address used by the devices to communicate with one another and by London Architect to communicate with the device. Every device shipped from the factory has a unique HiQNet node address. There's never a duplicate. When you place the devices in your design file, you don't know usually what those addresses will be. So London Architect addresses the first device as 1001, second device as 1002, and so on. If you're not going to use Crestron, AMX, external serial control of some sort, then this doesn't matter at all. If you do have external control, then it's important to note the HiQNet node address is part of that control address. So if I've told my Crestron programmer this device has a HiQNet node address of 1001, and he's gone and created the programming based on 1001, when I receive my device from the factory, it's probably not going to have 1001 as the node address. That means the serial programming won't work. What this dialog box is asking us is, do we want to keep the address of the device on the network? Yes. That would guarantee we don't have any duplication with other devices. But if we select no, don't keep the address of the device on the network, that means that all of our Crestron programming created with the previous address of 1001 will still work. When in doubt, go ahead and just hit yes. That guarantees you won't have any conflicts. If it turns out later that you were wrong and need to change that back, you can always go to the device of the network, bring up the device settings, and change that back to 1001. Once we have the device associated, so the names match, the card configuration matches, we're ready to go online, we'll have the green star above the device. That tells us that this design device has an associated network device that's ready to receive that program. To go online, we click the Run button, click the Needs Loading button. After it's been loaded, hit OK. London Architect will subscribe to the devices. We're done. We're online. Now, in some cases, when the device has already been loaded, if a wall control or logic or a preset or a serial control, if something has changed one or more of the parameters in the device, when we go back online, the device will have one parameter setting, the software will have a different parameter setting, and we have to resolve that difference. If nothing has changed, when we go back online, we go straight to the OK. If something has changed, when we go online, we'll be prompted for parameter synchronization. Do we want to send parameter values to the device or receive parameter values from the device? This kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you've made changes to your parameter settings offline, let's say you entered a bunch of crossover information, in that case, you want to send parameter values to the device. If you're dealing with a system that's already on and functional, has wall controls, blue 8s, blue 10s, whatever, then someone may have turned down the volume, for instance, in one of the rooms. If the volume was at 0 dB the last time you logged off, that's the value stored in London Architect. But now someone has come along, turned on the DVD player, and turned the volume down to negative 14 dB. If we send parameter values, that's going to pump that volume right back to 0 as soon as we hit the button. Instead, in that scenario, we want to receive values so that negative 14 dB volume comes down to London Architect and we don't have any drastic changes in the system. So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, which of those two you select. Select it, it synchronizes fairly quickly. You go online, you're done. That's all there is to going online. It's not that complicated.